I'd like to talk a little bit more now about the farm subsidies and free trade. I mean, we've talked some about it, but so we know that there's billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars in subsidies going to the very largest farmers and corporate farming operations and corporations. I mean, actually, over 75% of our farm subsidies are going to the wealthiest 10% of big business farmers. And some of these recipients include many members of Congress, which clear conflict of interest. We've had other recent reports saying that congressmen have stock in health the health insurance and drug industry. We have congressmen with stock in the weapons industry, congressmen with stock in the oil industry. These are all clear conflicts of interest. In the past, this would have been a problem, but apparently now we have sort of a corporate-ruled government that's okay. And some of the other recipients of these subsidies include many famous baseball players, basketball players, including Scottie Pippen. Ken Lay was receiving subsidies of Enron, and we know what happened with him. Ted Turner, media mogul, one of the 25 richest people in America, receiving subsidies. Chevron Corporation, I don't even understand how a corporation, I don't understand how an oil corporation receives farm subsidies. Apparently they do, and there's insurance corporations that receive subsidies. The Caterpillar, they make the bulldozers and everything. They receive subsidies. Banker David Rockefeller. We have all these millionaires and billionaires getting subsidies, yet small farmers get hardly anything. And organic agriculture gets hardly anything. And healthy foods like fruits and vegetables get hardly anything. And we're subsidizing the most unhealthy foods. Factory farm meat. We're subsidizing sugar and white flour and all these junk foods. We're making junk foods really cheap, yet we're making vegetables and fruits expensive. And we wonder why healthcare costs are so high. We wonder why heart disease is the #1 killer. We have 700,000 people a year dying from heart disease, yet we're not declaring war on heart disease or junk food or any of that. Obesity, diabetes, and so on and on.
I mean, the farm lobby is the biggest lobby in Washington, D.C. By far. Bigger than the military-industrial complex lobby, bigger than the healthcare lobby. It's ag lobby. They spend the most money. They have the most lobbyists.
Well, interesting now, Blanche Lincoln, our senator, is the head of the ag committee, and actually our corporations in Arkansas are receiving the largest farm subsidies. Actually, Riceland Foods and some of our other rice corporations are receiving the largest subsidies.
The two biggest checks for subsidies are to Stuttgart, Arkansas.
Right, Stuttgart, Arkansas.
But yeah, she's now the chair of food, nutrition, and forestry.
Right.
That's mind-boggling.
And
I mean, kudos to her. She's the first person in Arkansas to do that. But we have a huge responsibility to let her know that as citizens of Arkansas, these are the issues that are at hand, and we would like you to address these whenever you are making decisions for us.
Right. And I would love her to address some of the issues we've raised today. I just fear, or I don't fear, but I have a legitimate concern that she, looking at her healthcare track record and her track record on some other issues, voting for the war, et cetera, I mean, she seems to not have the kind of courage that this is going to take to have the kind of transition we need to a new agricultural system that we're going to be forced to transition. I mean, this isn't a matter of like, there is some flexibility in should we do it today or should we wait until we're forced to do it, but this is a matter of time before this, and we're a completely unsustainable system. It's going to fall eventually.
It's a tipping point, and you have to recognize, okay, what did we do back in the day? We were connected with our community. We grew with our community. And in essence, we need to revert back to that, because if these issues disturb you, like soil, water, transportation, peak oil, biodiversity, the clear answer is going back to local systems and adapting crops that are suitable for your environment, that provide you the nutrition that your community needs.
Yeah. Victory Gardens.
Victory Gardens, yeah.
Before we can do it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and these subsidies, we're talking about a global injustice, because these subsidies end up pricing farmers internationally out of the market. They can't even grow food for their own people in their own countries locally, because our farmers can supply food cheaper. It's a false kind of cheaper, even with transportation costs, to the people in those nations like Jamaica and so on and so forth.
And that's a huge issue with Mexico, and we hear people complaining about illegal immigration, but NAFTA is the #1 cause of the massive illegal immigration influx because of our agricultural policies. We have these massively subsidized corn, and we had Mexico join NAFTA, and then we flooded their market with their highly subsidized corn and other commodities, and it destroyed small farms in Mexico. And so you have all these small farmers out of work, and their family's hungry, you can't expect anything else for them to want to feed their families and come find a job so they can feed their family, because of our free trade and subsidy policies have destroyed their economic livelihood.
And there's such an interconnectedness between these issues when we talk about what's bad for our environment from these policies and what's bad for our local economies from these policies. It's also bad for our physical health. You know, Raj Patel, this is an excellent book, Stuffed and Starved. I recommend that everybody read it because it talks about all of these issues. But one of the things he points out is that what is the biggest indicator or statistical indicator of how many people in a Mexican family are going to be overweight, and it's actually proximity to the U.S. border.